Los Angeles hasn't had a football team since 1994 when the Raiders moved back to Oakland after playing at the L.A. Coliseum for about 13 years. But now, a billionaire developer with interest in the L.A. Kings and Lakers is looking to bring the game back to the second largest media market in the U.S. of A. He wants to build a stadium, and he wants to do it without taxpayer money. Ed Roski Jr. is CEO of Majestic Realty, joins us now from L.A. to tell us how he plans to do it. And if anybody can do it, it has to be a U.S. Marine. We forgot to mention that you are a former U.S. Marine. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, David. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here. So how would you fund this thing?
Well, what we've had to do is to work under the constraints that we have out in California, and that we don't have public funding for sports facilities like are available to you in other places around the country. So we're planning on doing it the same as we did Staples Center, that is home to the Lakers and the Clippers and the Kings and the Avengers, and we funded that privately with our own money and with private financing.
How about tax-exempt bonds? The New York Yankees and the New York Mets are using these tax-exempt bonds into the mix.
Well, in California, we don't have that available to us. When we go after a project like this, we need to figure out how to do it and how to do it with our own money.
So even for a billionaire such as yourself, $800 million, which is how much you estimate it'll cost, is not cheap. How are you going to raise it exactly? Can you be more specific?
Well, yeah, we have a project here that usually these stadiums cost anywhere from, like in New York, let's say it's $1.7 billion to let's say Dallas $1.5 billion, but we have 600 acres that we already own, and we're able to design a stadium that meets the California environment. We don't have to build facilities that are basically indoors like you would have to do, let's say, if you're building it in Buffalo or someplace like that. So most of our lifestyle out in California is out of doors, and so we're able to design a stadium that's considerably less than you could do it anywhere else, because we actually have a mountain and we kind of cut it into the mountain, similar to what we have here with the Coliseum or Dodger Stadium or even the Rose Bowl, how they work. So it's called an asymmetrical stadium. So about 3/4 of the stadium is built into the mountain.
Incredible.
The other quarter is basically where you have the suites and the club seats and the other things. So actually the stadium works out probably better than any other stadium when you come to general admission, just the way it's set. So we're able to save about, even if you did it conventionally in Los Angeles, it'd probably cost in excess of $1 billion, and we can create it, for about half that amount, and then when you add, the other soft cost into it, comes out to about $800 million.
It's a great concept, and not only would you save $400 million, but it has all this ecological, parts of it that a lot of people are going to like. But who are you going to get to put in the stadium? You got to get a team somewhere.
Well, always the problem in doing something in California, and especially in Los Angeles, that you have to bring the idea of certainty. There is not going to be any more expansion teams. The league is going to stay with 32 teams. So it's going to mean that a team is going to need to make a decision to actually move to Los Angeles, and nobody's going to make that decision until they know they can move. Before, when the Raiders moved here, there were certain promises made to them, and those promises weren't kept, and so the Raiders eventually tried very, very hard to make it work here, and then they eventually had to leave and go back to Oakland. So any team that's going to make a decision to move to Los Angeles is going to need to know that there's certainty. And in California, and we have such a large population, we have to consider a number of factors here, the traffic and the lights and how things affect the community and how you get in and out. And we don't have public transportation per se here. You got to come by cars, so it's got to be in a location that you can get in and off the freeways. It's got to be serviced by all the freeways.
But I want to ask you about the teams, and I just want to throw some names at you. You must have thrown out a couple of lures, like to the Minnesota Vikings, for example, or the San Diego Chargers. I mean, can you mention some teams that you've at least talked to?
Well, we're really not at that stage yet to really get into final discussion with anybody. What we have to do is we have to bring the facility to certainty. We're drawing the plans right now. They're going to be finished sometime next month. We're going to be in a position at that time to get the final prices on it. We would be in a position by September 1st of this year to say yes, because we already own the land. We're now just finalizing all the details and say, okay, now we can do this. This is the price. This is what it is. This is how we're going to do it. And at that point, we'll start talking to who would ever like to talk to us and who's ever available.
So would you actually have to break ground before you go out and talk to bringing in teams?
No. What our plan is to do is to be in a position to have all the plans finished and all the entitlement work done and everything like this, so that we could actually break ground by the fourth quarter of this year.
I see.
A team would, if they were interested in moving, would need to make that decision. They would probably need to come after this season is over with and play in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum, and then would be ready to play in our new stadium in 2011.
Mr. Roski, I'd be remiss. You're in real estate. That's where you made a lot of your money. What do you think? Right. When are we going to bottom out in this downturn?
Well, actually, I think we pretty well bottomed out. I mean, things seem to be, this last couple of weeks, I've visited all my offices throughout the United States, and things seem to be getting a lot better. There's still some, challenges in the residential side, but as far as companies are concerned and the other things, I think business is everything, is starting to pick back up. I mean, it was basically, a credit crunch. It really wasn't the normal time when we see, businesses start to turn down or oversupply or something like this. Companies today are pretty sophisticated. They keep their inventories in line, and so basically it's a credit crunch, and that's starting to ease up already.
Well, best of luck to your plans to build the stadium, and would you come back to talk real estate to a marine-friendly program like Scoreboard?
Yeah, sure would. Anytime, David.
All right. Well, Semper Fi to you, Ed Roski Jr.
Okay.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Coming up on deck, sexy and successful women.